And about that time, the captain came across the bridge and said, "Mr. Boxall, you go away in that boat," pointing to the port emergency boat number 2. And he said, "Hurry up, Mr. Wilde is waiting to lower it." So I said, "You see that white light over there?" So pointing it out to him, he said, "Yes." I said, "That is the stern light of that ship." I tumbled into this boat. They'd started to lower her. I tumbled into this lifeboat and we got lowered down.
All the women and children that were there could have got in. We could have put more in. In fact, we had not a full complement.
How many people were there in your boat?
I think 23 to 25.
You had flashlights?
Yes, Roman candles.
After I got in the boat, the officer found a bunch of rockets, which was put in the boat by mistake for a box of biscuits.
I told him to put them in, for anybody that would happen to find them.
What did you do when you got into the water?
I pulled a little way from the ship, probably 100 feet away from the ship, and remained there for a while.
We saw a light, and we pulled for that light.
The rowing was very difficult, for no one knew how.
Did you row for that light?
Certainly. The captain told the officer to pull for that light and come back again.
And the captain looked over the side from the bridge and sung out and told me to go round to the starboard side, to the gangway doors, which was practically the opposite side to where I was lowered.
I intended to go back to try and obey orders that I heard given through the megaphone. I pulled round the starboard side to the stern and had a little difficulty in getting round there.
I had great difficulty in getting the boat round there. There was suction.
The boat seemed to be drawn closer to the ship. I think myself that there was more suction while the ship was settling bodily. The ship was settling down broadside. I pulled around the ship's stern and was intending to go alongside and tried to see if I could get alongside of the ship again.
We were rowed round the stern to the starboard side.
I tried to steer under Mr. Boxhall's orders.
I was using the stroke oar, standing up, and there was a lady helping. She was steering the boat round the ship's stern. When I passed round the boat, to try and get to this gangway door on the starboard side, her propellers were out of water. I'm not certain if I didn't pass underneath them. But when I did eventually reach there, I found that there was such a mob standing in the gangway doors. Really, I daren't go alongside, because if they'd jumped, they would have swamped the boat.
We pulled around to the starboard side of the ship, and found we could not get to the starboard side, because it was listing too far. We pulled astern, that way again, and after we got astern, we lay on our oars, and saw the ship go down.
The place was packed then. Oh, everybody was on deck milling around. Some were crying, some were praying. I felt rather sad myself, and so I went right aft, right up on the poop.
Did you see any of them climb up there?
It looked blacker. She was white around there, and it looked like a big crowd of people.
And I thought, oh, now I'll go up and get out of all this scrumming and go on the poop deck. There were about 4 of us up there.
For a long time we didn't move the boat when we laid off on the starboard side. You could see by the arrangements of the lights, all the lights were burning, and you could see that she was going down. You could see that her stern was getting pretty low in the water. She was certainly going down, there was no doubt about it then.
I went on to the poop.
Was she getting low in the water then?
Yes.
And what struck me as being strange, that all the other boats, I couldn't see one of them. That is when I burnt the green light to try and attract the other boats.
I remember we kept our eyes focused on the bow light of the Titanic, which shone bright green on the starboard side. At 2:10, green rockets were fired from the upper deck. This was the last call for help and mercy. At 2:20, I saw the green light disappear entirely.
it is pretty clear that the Titanic, when she went down very gradually, and that the evidence which has been given about her going down head first and practically perpendicularly is not true. It is pretty clear on the evidence that as the sinking was gradual, there must have been water coming in a good way aft.
On each deck, are the portholes in practice opened from time to time?
Very, very often, we keep them open, the whole of the passage.
I could see all the portholes open and water washing in and the decks still lighted.
Did you notice anything about the portholes in the side of the ship?
Yes, a great many were open. The Titanic must have had her bottom nearly taken away by the iceberg from the first class to the steerage, for she went down gradually, bit by bit.
The Titanic kept settling lower and lower. She seemed already to be only half her former height. We watched the lights go out as the boat dropped lower and lower in the sea.
Did you see the vessel go down?
Yes.
Did you notice whether she was down by the head?
No, I did not notice.
Did you notice whether she appeared to be going deeper into the water, forward?
No.
Were you facing her when she went down?
Yes.
We could see the ship gradually going down. I started unconsciously to count the decks by the rows of lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were only 5 decks now. Then I started all over again. Only 4 now. She was getting lower in the water, and I could not any longer deny it. Only 3 decks now, and still not a list to one side or the other.
The ship was settling bodily. The ship was settling down, broadside.
You could see that her stern was getting pretty low in the water.
I was facing the Titanic and could see her going down. I saw the lights go out, deck after deck.
We could see the Titanic gradually sinking. This row of lights would disappear, and the next row of lights disappeared. One row of lighted portholes after another, gently, like a lady.
I felt it, I saw it, by the work we had, pulling it round the ship's stern. Seeing she was only a small boat, I judged there was quite a lot of suction.
I decided that I don't go alongside again, and I pulled off and laid off until I pulled away about a quarter of a mile, I suppose.
We were trying to fix up a collapsible boat. When she gave the first signs of going under, there seemed to be a tremble run through the whole of the ship, and the next thing we heard were loud reports inside. A violent explosion suddenly shook the entire boat.
The Titanic seemed to break in two. Then there was a tremendous explosion.
We heard a terrible explosion, and as all of you know, the Titanic had 4 funnels. And when we heard this explosion, the Titanic broke in half.
The 2 forward funnels seemed to lean, and then she seemed to break in half, as if cut with a knife.
All of us were badly fooled by the green-colored lights and rockets.
I had the child in my arms, and I looked back at her stern end and I saw a green light. The firemen and sailors came up and said that it was a boat. We were just turning around and making for the stern end when the wave washed us off the deck, washed us clear of it, and the child was washed out of my arms.
I had been showing green lights most of the time. I had been showing pyrotechnic lights on the boat.
Did they make a brilliant light?
Yes, a brilliant light.
Then when the water rushed into the boilers, there was a terrible explosion. And that's when I thought the boat broke in half. And that's when the people started jumping into the water and screaming. That's when they screamed. It was terrible. Screams of the women, you know, and all.
When Boxhall lit his first light, the screams grew louder and then died down.
Preceding the sinking of the boat, there was a loud cry as if emanating from one throat. The men in our boat asked the women to cheer, saying, "Those cheers that you hear on the big boat mean they have all gotten into lifeboats and are saved." And do you know that we actually cheered, believing that the big shout was one of thanksgiving.
It appeared to us that when the ship had listed heavily to port, the engines fell out and crashed through the side.
And well, we got away clear of the ship, and we just laid on the oars until eventually they realized that she'd gone, and we heard all the screams. We couldn't do anything, and the screams went on for some considerable time.
Did you see the Titanic sink?
No, I cannot say that I saw her sink. I saw the lights go out, but I did not know whether she had sunk or not, and then I heard the cries. I was showing green lights in the boat then to try and get the other boats together.
There was so much debris floating, and bodies, dead and alive, were all round there. So there were hundreds of them round the stern of that ship. They'd all seem to drift down that way.
We heard these cries, but we took them to be the boats that went away from the starboard side of the ship, that they were cheering one another, giving them encouragement.
There must have been a great number of people in the water.
But not near us. They were some distance away from us.
How far?
It seemed about half a mile.
We drifted, I am sure, 1.5 miles from the Titanic, from where she sank. We met Captain Smith. He said that our time was coming, and before he finished the words, one of the boilers in the engine room exploded and threw us all apart. So came a second explosion that threw me clear across the deck.
All the lights were on, when suddenly 2 terrible explosions took place.
Suddenly there came 2 sharp explosions, as the water rushed into the boiler room and the boilers exploded.
The big boat could be plainly seen. It was trembling from stem to stern.
For a fraction of a second, she arose in the air, and was plainly visible in the light caused by the blowing up of the boilers.
She appeared to be breaking in halves. For a few moments we could see everything that was happening, for as the vessel sank, millions and millions of sparks flew up and lit everything around us.
How far were you from the ship when it sank?
I suppose I was about half a mile away. I could not see any boats, not when I had got so far away as that.
After she got to a certain angle, she exploded, broke in halves, and it seemed to me as if all the engines, and everything, that was in the after part, had slid out, into the forward part, and the after part, came upright again, and as soon as it came upright, down it went again. You could see the explosions, by the smoke, coming right up, the funnels, it was all black, looked like as if it was lumps of coal, and all that, through the funnels, just after the explosion, pretty big lumps, steam, and very black smoke.
We could see her stern, rising higher and higher, until her lights began to go out. As the last lights on the stern went out, we saw her plunge distinctly bow first, and intact.
eventually we saw a rocket go up, and it turned out to be the Carpathia. So she'd seen my green light that I had burnt. So I burnt another one.
I think all the boats followed us because the officer must have burned about 8 or 9.
And eventually she steered for the position that I was in.
How did you attract attention?
With a lamp. The officer put his hat in front of the lamp and held it up.
And consequently I was the first boat picked up. People on the Carpathia told me that it was about just before 4 o'clock. About 5 minutes to 4, I think.